Welcome back to Starz Recapped, the channel where we break down the darkest and most twisted movies ever made. Today, we're diving into Gaia 2021, a chilling eco-horror that blurs the line between nature and nightmare. When a forest ranger named Gabby ventures deep into the jungle, she stumbles upon two mysterious men worshipping a strange fungal deity. But soon, she realizes the forest itself is alive, and it wants to claim her. Let's uncover the terrifying secrets hidden beneath the roots of Gaia 2021. The movie opens deep inside a wild, untouched jungle somewhere in Africa. Here, we meet two forest rangers, Winston and his partner Gabby, on a routine surveillance mission. They glide across the river in a small boat, surrounded by thick green walls of trees and misty silence. Gabby launches her drone to scan the area from above, recording the vast wilderness, until something, or someone, knocks it out of the sky. The screen goes dark. Winston warns her not to enter the woods, saying people have vanished in there before, but Gabby insists they can't just abandon the equipment or leave trash behind. Reluctantly, he agrees, and she heads into the forest alone while Winston stays back in the boat. Meanwhile, we catch a glimpse of a mysterious young boy, holding what appears to be Gabby's missing drone, alongside another shadowy figure. As Gabby ventures deeper, she feels the eerie silence growing heavier. Her phone has no signal, and the forest seems alive. Somewhere nearby, the two strangers spread strange mushroom spores into the air, while Gabby realizes pieces of her drone are missing. Back at the river, Winston notices his camera feed is completely blocked. Someone has smeared mud over the lens. That's when he starts to panic. Lost and limping through the woods, Gabby hears whispers, soft, human-like voices echoing through the trees. Suddenly, she steps on a hidden rope trap that drives a sharp wooden spike into her foot. She screams in agony, grabs her radio and calls out for Winston, but there's no reply. Something moves fast behind her, too quick to see, and a strange red glow begins to pulse through the forest like fire in the mist. At the same time, Winston abandons the boat and steps into the dark jungle, following the light, unaware that both of them are walking straight into something ancient and alive. Gabby stands frozen before that mysterious red glow pulsing through the forest. For a moment, it feels like she's under some kind of spell, unable to move or look away. Meanwhile, Winston calls out her name, his voice echoing through the dark trees. But instead of a reply, he hears strange whispers swirling all around him. The voices grow louder, more distorted, and in panic, Winston slips and crashes into a muddy swamp. As he struggles to climb out, he spots a shadow moving behind a tree. Thinking it might be Gabby, he hurries after it, unaware that she's already stumbled upon an old, hidden cabin deep in the woods. Gabby knocks on the door, calling out for help. There's no response. So, limping and exhausted, she steps inside. The place is cluttered with strange objects and symbols. Realizing she has no choice, she decides to rest there and tend to her wounded foot. Back outside, Winston finally drags himself out of the swamp. But something is nearby. A low, inhuman sound echoes behind him, sending chills down his spine. Terrified, he bolts into the darkness. Inside the cabin, Gabby drifts into a restless sleep. She dreams she's vomiting something unnatural, and when she jolts awake, two men are standing over her. One of them grabs her and holds a knife to her throat, demanding to know who sent her. Panicked, Gabby explains she's just a ranger who came looking for her lost drone and got caught in one of their traps. The man looks down at her injured foot and scolds her for ruining their setup. Back in the forest, Winston hides behind a tree, whispering to himself that it's all in his head. But suddenly something crawls toward him. A horrifying creature, walking on all fours like a twisted human. Without a second thought, Winston runs for his life. Back in the cabin, Gabby learns the men's names, Barend and his son Stefan. They tell her they've lived there for years, away from the outside world. When she asks about the strange noises in the woods, Barend calmly replies, "It's nothing to worry about, just an old cow." But we know nothing in this forest is ordinary. As night falls, the three of them sit around a dimly lit table. Before eating, the father and son recite an eerie prayer, something ancient and unsettling. Gabby just stares at her plate, clearly uncomfortable. Barend, sensing her hesitation, smirks and tells her to enjoy the feast in a tone that feels more like a warning than hospitality. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Winston is still running for his life. The monstrous thing behind him is fast, too fast. He trips on a branch, slams into the dirt, and when he looks up, the creature is right there, inches away. He reaches for his knife, but it's gone. The beast lets out a blood-chilling scream, forcing Winston to stumble to his feet and sprint into the darkness once again. Back at the cabin, Gabby and the two men settle down for the night. But before she can rest, she spots something outside the window. Something moving, but not human. The room goes silent as Barrand and his son exchange knowing looks. They recognize whatever's out there. Somewhere nearby, Winston hides behind thick roots, unaware that strange fungal tendrils are slowly creeping toward him, until they strike. Inside, Barrand prepares a strange herbal paste to treat Gabby's wound and leaves his son to watch over her. The boy, who's never even seen a woman before, looks at her with a mix of curiosity and confusion, but keeps his distance. Gabby drifts into another nightmare, her body overtaken by vines and plants bursting from her skin. She wakes up gasping for air, only to find herself alone. The men have gone hunting. Desperate to find Winston, she radios him, and he finally answers, but his voice is broken, disoriented, saying things that make no sense. Gabby realizes something is terribly wrong. Out in the forest, Barrand and Stefan track down a wild boar. When they kill it, Barrand rubs its blood onto his son's face and whispers a strange prayer, asking the earth for forgiveness. Back at the cabin, smoke begins to rise. Gabby has started a small fire, hoping someone will see it and come for her. But in this forest, attracting attention might be the worst thing she could do. Barrand storms back into the cabin, furious. He scolds Gabby for lighting a fire during the day, saying it could draw unwanted attention. Gabby, still shaken, explains that she only did it so Winston could spot the smoke and find her. But Barrand insists her partner would have already done that. After all, they have radios to communicate. She tells him she's worried because she heard strange noises earlier, but he brushes it off and promises to take her back later. That night, Barrand continues tending to Gabby's injured foot while she tries to reach Winston on the radio, but again, silence. Giving up, she starts talking to Barrand instead. Gabby says his son should be in school, not isolated in the jungle. Barrand calmly replies that his boy is learning everything that truly matters. Curious, Gabby asks about his wife. His expression changes. He says she died of bone cancer 13 years ago. Gabby softly says she's sorry, but he simply replies, "That's life." When she asks what he used to do before living out here, Barrand reveals he was once a scientist, a plant pathologist, and that everything changed after his wife, Lily, passed away. She too was a chemical engineer. Later, Stefan shyly hands Gabby a handmade necklace. Barrand tells her it's a gift, something to remember them by. Gabby forces a smile, but can't shake off how unsettling it all feels. Meanwhile, somewhere in the jungle, Winston's fate is revealed. His body lies motionless, covered in growing fungi and roots, just like the nightmare Gabby had before. That same night, she dreams again. This time, vines crawl inside her mouth. She jolts awake, gasping for air, as Barrand quickly covers her mouth to silence her. Something is moving outside the cabin. Stefan grabs his bow, his hands trembling. The thing outside, whatever it is, starts clawing and thumping against the walls, desperate to get in. Barrand whispers to Gabby, asking if she can stay silent. She nods. The entire cabin goes still, as the sound of the creature echoes through the night. Barrand whispers that if the creatures manage to get inside, Gabby must stay completely still, because they can't see, only sense movement. To protect herself, she quickly rubs a strange liquid over her skin, while Barrand and his son prepare to confront whatever's outside. Moments later, the door bursts open and one of the humanoid creatures lunges toward her. Before it can strike, Barrand leaps in and shoves it back, saving Gabby just in time. Another creature crawls through the shadows and crashes into the cabin. Stefan fires his bow, hitting it squarely, forcing the monster to retreat into the darkness. But the victory is short-lived. A second one breaks through the wall, growling and clawing at Barrand. Just as he warned, everyone freezes. These things can't see, but they can hear the faintest sound. For a moment, silence. Then Gabby's breath catches, just enough to make a noise. The creature snaps its head toward her. Stefan reacts instantly, firing multiple arrows as his father joins the fight. After a brutal struggle, the two manage to drive the monster away and barricade the door once more. Panting and trembling, Gabby looks down. She's splattered in the creature's blood. Stefan rushes over and quickly strips off his own shirt, trying to wipe it from her skin. She's startled, confused, but Barrand urges her to trust them. As he tends to his own wound, Gabby suddenly feels dizzy and collapses. Later, Barend explains the horrifying truth. Those creatures aren't animals or humans. They're fungal beings, part of a massive organism that lives beneath the forest floor, feeding on human flesh and bone. Gabby can hardly believe what she's hearing. Barend continues, saying this ancient life form existed long before humans, and soon it will reclaim the earth. She asks if this is the god he spoke of earlier. Barend chuckles darkly and says, "People have worshipped far worse." When Gabby turns to Stefan, asking if he believes the same, the boy simply mutters, "It's time to sleep." As the cabin falls silent again, Gabby drifts into another dream, standing in the middle of the forest, surrounded by something ancient and watching. In her dream, Gabby stands motionless in the middle of the forest when something reaches out and touches her shoulder. She turns, but before she can react, a strange fungus bursts from her neck. Horrified, she gasps and wakes up in panic. Stefan is sitting beside her, gently calling her beautiful. Trying to lighten the mood, Gabby shows him her phone, taking a quick selfie of them together and scrolling through old photos from her life outside the forest. The boy watches in awe, completely mesmerized by the world he's never seen. But the moment doesn't last. Barend suddenly storms in, furious, calling Gabby a monster and demanding that she leave his home. He and Stefan step out to speak privately, while Gabby gathers her shattered phone pieces that Barend had earlier destroyed. Among the clutter, she finds an old notebook filled with strange writings and scientific notes. Out in the woods, Barend kneels before a massive tree, performing what looks like a ritual. He slices his hand, smears blood into the bark, and watches as clusters of fungi sprout from within. He plucks one and eats it raw before handing another to his son. When he looks down at his wound, concern flashes across his face. It's spreading. Returning to the cabin, he catches Gabby reading his journal and immediately notices the infection creeping across her skin. She's terrified, but he tells her coldly to leave before it's too late. Stefan looks conflicted, but stays silent. A sudden knock echoes through the woods. Barend grabs his weapon and steps outside to investigate. The moment he's gone, Stefan rushes to Gabby's side, desperately trying to help her. In a heartbreaking gesture, he licks the fungal growth on her arm, thinking it might save her. She gently hugs him, promising she'll never forget him, that she'll come back one day. When Barend returns, he coldly says, "It's time to go." Gabby begs to take Stefan with her, but the father only laughs. As they trek through the forest, she asks how they've survived so long without being consumed by the infection. Barend simply replies, "We are." A few steps later, Gabby spots Winston's flashlight glimmering in the dirt and rushes toward the source, the lair of the humanoid fungi. Barend warns her not to go any closer, but she ignores him. Inside, she finds one of her team's security cameras and retrieves its memory card. Then, they stumble upon Winston's body, overgrown with mushrooms and vines. But when Gabby touches him, his hand moves. He's still alive. Gabby kneels beside Winston, tears filling her eyes as she realizes he's still alive, but barely. His body is almost completely overtaken by the fungus. With a trembling voice, he begs her to end his suffering. She refuses, insisting she can still save him, that she'll get him to a hospital somehow. But Barend steps forward, bow in hand, ready to finish it. Gabby blocks him, desperate for another solution, asking if there's anything they can do to help. Barend silently hands an arrow to Winston instead. Understanding what it means, Winston takes one final look at her and makes his choice. Gabby breaks down, crying uncontrollably, but her sobs echo through the forest, drawing the attention of nearby creatures. Barend snaps into action, yelling for her to move. The forest erupts with distant growls as they sprint back toward the cabin. They burst inside, slamming the door shut and waking Stefan, who's overjoyed to see Gabby return safely. Outside, the noises grow louder. More of those fungal creatures are surrounding the house. Barend seals every entrance, preparing for another long, terrifying night. Later, Gabby drifts into uneasy sleep, haunted by another dream, roots and fungus spreading under her skin. When she wakes, she notices it's not just a dream anymore. The infection is growing. Panicking, she confronts Barend, insisting he must have some kind of cure, but he doesn't answer. Instead, he silently grabs his things and leaves the cabin. Gabby turns to Stefan, asking where his father went. The boy replies quietly, "He's gone to pray." Taking the chance while Barend is gone, Gabby gently asks about his mother. Stefan says he barely remembers her, but adds that she's still here, living in the forest now. Gabby looks confused until he says, "I can show you." Meanwhile, deep among the trees, Barend kneels before his so-called god once more. But this time, as strange noises echo through the darkness, Even he seems afraid. A dim red glow pulses through the forest as Gabi tries to convince Stefan to come with her. She tells him he could live a normal life, maybe even become a ranger like her, and playfully adds that there are plenty of women waiting for him out there. But Stefan doesn't smile. He quietly reminds her of what his father said, that soon everyone will die. Moments later, Berend walks into the cabin, his face pale and haunted, as if he's seen something beyond human understanding. The next morning, he performs his strange ritual again, feeding his son another piece of the sacred fungus. Meanwhile, Gabi's infection spreads rapidly beneath her skin. When Berend and Stefan return home, the boy runs to Gabi, seemingly affectionate. But in truth, he's passing her a small piece of the fungus his father gave him. Berend doesn't interfere. He simply watches and then asks if she's ready to return to her old world. But when Gabi realizes the fungus is easing her pain, she hesitates and says she wants to stay. Without another word, Berend walks away. Later, Stefan happily decides to teach Gabi how to shoot a bow, telling her he'll take her to the sacred tree, the same one from her strange dreams. While pretending to go along with the plan, Gabi secretly rebuilds her damaged phone using the pieces she collected. As she scrolls through, she finds the pictures she took of Stefan, Berend, and the eerie fungal beings in the woods. Their tense conversation turns unsettling when Berend grows agitated. Gabi tries to act interested in his beliefs, saying she wants to understand the god he worships. But instead of calming him, it makes him even more unstable. Still, he agrees to show her, performing an ancient ritual he calls the ceremony. Stefan paints her face red, while Berend blows a strange powder into her eyes. Suddenly, everything fades. Gabi finds herself in a swampy dream world, completely naked, as a man slowly rises from the murky water. It's Stefan. The two embrace in a surreal, trance-like encounter before Gabi jolts awake beneath the sacred tree. Her visions twist into chaos, flashes of life, death, and decay, before she finally snaps back to reality. Confused and trembling, she asks Berend what happened. He calmly replies, "You've been to the Temple of Dreams," then adds, "You were gone for 4 hours." When Gabi wakes up, she's completely disoriented. It feels like she's been gone for months. Berend stares at her intensely and asks what she told him, but Gabi has no idea what he's talking about. She glances over at Stefan and realizes that what she experienced wasn't real. It was all part of another dream. Berend repeats the same question from her vision, wanting to know what that thing truly wants. And now it becomes clear. The forest entity demands a sacrifice. It wants Stefan, but Berend, despite his devotion, can't bring himself to harm his own son. Time passes, and Gabi and Stefan grow closer, laughing together, their bond deepening, while Berend sits apart, consumed by dread and guilt. That night, Berend leaves the cabin to perform his nightly prayers, and Gabi sees her chance to escape with Stefan. But before they can make it far, they cross paths with Berend on the dark trail. His eyes are cold and distant as he tells Stefan he doesn't understand, that everything he's ever done was to protect him. Gabi steps forward, knife in hand, trying to keep the old man away. But Berend doesn't stop. He accuses her of wanting to drag Stefan back to the city, to a meaningless, enslaved life. Furious, Gabi yells back that he's insane. She holds up the notebook she stole from him, saying she'll reveal everything he's done to the world. Berend laughs bitterly and tells his son there's nothing worth discovering beyond this forest, that if he leaves now, his mother's sacrifice will mean nothing. Gabi shouts that it wasn't a sacrifice, that he killed his wife. Berend simply mutters that she chose to die here as part of their great pilgrimage. Hearing this, Stefan hesitates, and in the end, he turns back to his father, leaving Gabi behind. Heartbroken but determined, Gabi heads off alone, but something in her gut tells her to turn back. She hides in the shadows and watches as Berend and Stefan prepare for something grim. Stefan, confused, asks where they're going. His father quietly replies that they're on their way to make an offering. When Stefan asks what kind of offering, Berend only says, "Our God will provide." And with that, the two disappear down the trail toward the sacred tree, as Gabi loads a bow and begins to follow them into the darkness. Gabi races through the forest, desperate to save Stefan, but suddenly, she comes face to face with a humanoid fungal creature. She dives behind a tree for cover, heart pounding. Back at the sacred tree, Berend calmly tells his son that the god has chosen him. The ritual begins. In a shocking moment, Berend strikes Stefan in the back, trying to force him into his grim destiny. Meanwhile, Gabi fights for her life, managing to land a blow on one of the attacking humanoids. Stefan realizes the horrifying truth. His father intends to sacrifice him. The tree itself seems alive, its roots and branches writhing as they reach for Stefan, pulling him toward his fate. Gabi attempts to intervene, but the twisting branches ensnare her, trapping her against the tree. Panic surges, but she fights free, pulling an arrow from her quiver and firing at Berend, though it barely slows him down. Berend lunges at her, and Stefan jumps in to defend her, but Gabi is struck and falls unconscious to the forest floor. A humanoid fungus approaches, looming over her. Just as all seems lost, Stefan charges forward, battling the creature with everything he has. While Stefan fights off the monster, Berend drags Gabi by her hair toward the tree. Her heart races. She can barely breathe, but suddenly, Stefan finishes off the creature and lunges at his father. With a final desperate strike, he stabs Berend in the back. Berend collapses to the ground, weak and defiant, trying to manipulate Stefan, claiming it was all a test. But Gabi, groaning and regaining consciousness, spots more creatures lurking nearby. She pleads with Stefan. They need to run, leave Berend behind. And just like that, the two of them flee into the dark, haunted forest, leaving the twisted father to face his own fate. After the harrowing escape, Gabi and Stefan make it back to the cabin. While Gabi showers, she's suddenly overcome by another vision, the massive fungal organism trying to reach her, to communicate, or perhaps to consume her entirely. She jolts awake, heart racing, and grabs Berend's journal, desperately scanning its pages for any clue. Meanwhile, Berend is locked in a losing battle against the forest's power. He pleads with the sacred tree, trying everything he can to resist becoming one of the humanoid fungi. But nothing works. Without the protective mushrooms, the infection spreads rapidly, and Berend succumbs once again, completely overtaken. Gabi, now infected herself, feels her strength fading. The protective mushrooms no longer shield her, and she knows her time is running out. She turns to Stefan, urging him to escape and see the world beyond the cursed forest. Days pass, and the infection worsens. Gabi's body begins to transform, creeping closer and closer to becoming one of the fungal horrors she's fought so hard to survive. With a heavy heart, she asks Stefan to end her suffering. And he does, tears streaming down his face. Alone now, Stefan watches as the organism pulses and moves, more alive and threatening than ever. Remembering Gabi's final words, he turns his back on the forest and steps into the unknown. Eventually, he arrives in a bustling city, a place filled with noise, lights, and countless new experiences. He begins a new life, far away from the nightmare of the forest. But despite the relative safety, he doesn't realize that the infection lingers. Everything he touches carries a trace of the organism, a silent reminder that the forest's curse may never truly leave him. And that's how Gaia ends, a chilling journey into a forest where nature itself becomes the deadliest force. Gabi fights to survive. Stefan learns the harsh truths of his world, and Berend succumbs to the very organism he tried to control. In the end, Stefan escapes the cursed forest and steps into the wider world, carrying the memory of his lost love. But the lingering presence of the fungal entity serves as a haunting reminder. Some forces of nature are impossible to escape. If you enjoyed this explanation, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Starz Recapped for more full movie breakdowns with every twist and turn revealed.